What is up, gamers? It has been a hot minute since I've uploaded a video on YouTube, and by a hot minute I mean 3 months, but hey, school's a priority for me, and I had to keep up with that recently. But today I'm bringing you the first episode of a, hopefully, 100-part series on improvement in Rainbow Six Siege, and I mean real improvement. If you're like me and you've seen your fair share of R6 tip videos over the course of your gaming experience, and maybe even made a few yourself, you've been kind of confused about how to actually apply the things that you learn to your playstyle and your gameplay, and that's where this series comes in. Over the course of this series, I'm going to break down the most simple and the most complex mechanics in Rainbow Six Siege and show you guys how you can actually change the way that you play for the better instead of watching a tip video and forgetting everything that you learned. Without further ado, let's game. Today's episode is about movement, and I've never really thought about movement in R6. It seems like it's as simple as smashing your lean and crouch keys so you don't get shot, but it's a lot more complex than that, and there's a lot for me to learn and for you to learn. So, here's the plan for this video. We're going to start off by learning about movement using others' YouTube videos and some pro play. Then, we're going to practice the things that we learned, and then we're going to hop into a ranked game and actually apply the things that we learned. I strongly recommend that you hop on Siege and follow along with this process as I work to improve my movement in Siege so we can do it together. Okay, so for step 1, we need to learn about movement and how we can improve it in Siege. So I went to YouTube and checked out one of my favorite creators' guides to movement. His name's Athieno. I'm going to link his video down in the description, and I recommend that you watch it right now so you can see all of the things that I saw. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be summarizing the points he made. Alright, so the first point that Athieno made in his video was that your equipment and your settings are very, very important to how your movement turns out in Siege. So that's being comfortable with your keybinds, making sure your setup doesn't have any issues, and that you keep your button layout close to WASD so you're not reaching across your keyboard every time you gotta click something. The second point he made is that sensitivity is very important. Not having a good sensitivity, but being comfortable with the sensitivity that you have. The third point he made is that confidence is key. Having confidence in your abilities and your keybinds and your sensitivity will all lead to you improving your movement much faster. And the fourth point, which is my favorite point, is to stop spamming. Spamming your lead and crouch keys in Siege doesn't help anymore. Although it may have been the meta in 2018, 2021 Siege is a lot different, and you need to stop that bad habit. While Athieno's video provided a great foundation for starting to improve your movement, I wanted to see how movement manifested itself at the highest levels of Siege. So I looked to BDS's Shaiiko, one of the most combatively skilled players in the game, to analyze his movement style in an attempt to understand more about movement in R6. The first thing that I noticed about Shaiiko's movement is how deliberate he is with his actions. Every lean, crouch, and sprint is done with thought and intention. This ties back to one of the main points of Athieno's video, but there's one other thing that caught my eye. Watch Shaiiko's fight with his pulse once again. When Shaiiko moves through the rotate hole to take the fight with Pulse, they both see each other. However, the reason that Shaiiko comes out on top of this fight is because of his ability to dodge Pulse's shots. Shaiiko knows that Pulse is going to be aiming at his head standing, so he crouches down and strafes to avoid Pulse's shots. This is something that most high-level players would be able to do. But in Shaiiko's case, he's able to maintain good crosshair placement on the Pulse as he crouches and strafes, as well as while Pulse attempts to dodge his shots. This is something that for the purposes of this video I will call Strafe Tracking. This mechanic is what makes players like Shaiiko stand out in their movement. So our goal today is going to be to master the Strafe Track. But we've got a hell of a lot to do to work up to that. We are now entering the practice part of this video, where you and I try to practice everything that we just talked about, including our keybinds, our sensitivity, our confidence, our intention, and our strafe tracking, all to try and bring our movement up to par with the highest levels of Siege. Before we leap into the complexities of strafe tracking, we need to make sure that we've got the basics down. First up, our keybinds. Now, I've always been comfortable with my keybinds, and I don't change them often. But if you aren't, I'd recommend trying out various setups of different members of the Siege community and taking the parts you like from each setup. The same goes for your sense. Ask around, see what others do, and implement what you like from their senses into yours. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk confidence. Confidence is important in all aspects of Siege, but the way it manifests in the movement category is through coordination between your keyboard hand and your mouse hand. or on console your left stick and your right stick. Not being fully confident in a decision you make will make it much harder to fully commit to something using your whole body, which can cause problems. The way that you can practice your confidence is by warming up before you play. This will give you an idea of how you're doing that day, so you know what to expect from yourself, and improve your mechanics before you hop into a ranked game. Next, making intentional movements will greatly increase your success in Siege. The way that I practice this is by going into a T-hunt and only leaning, moving, or crouching when I absolutely need to. I always ask myself, is this movement necessary? And after doing 5 to 10 T-hunts with that mindset, intentional movement will feel natural. I'll go through and do a T-hunt right now so you can see the way that I think about my movement. Now, what I like to do here is I'm going to lean left so I get an advantage around this corner, right? I'm going to see if there's anybody in here. I don't see anybody. When I clear this corner, I'm going to lean right to go around here. And then when I'm clearing this, I lean left. We'll look in here. We see a guy. We'll shoot him in the head. Get that guy. This is my first time playing today, so don't bully me for bad aim. We're just going to keep going through here. ADS. Find this guy. We're going to crouch to see his head. We're going to swing around here to get this guy. Then we're going to lean right because we're going through this doorway. All right, we're going to go ahead and lean left because I want to check the staircase first. No one's on the staircase. Now we're going to go all the way around here. Leaning left again. Get that guy. Move up here. Lean right to clear this room. Lean left to go peek this room. We'll see this guy crouch. He dies. This guy, remember, it's important that you are very deliberate with your leaning, right? Right now, I'm leaning the wrong way. I want to be right here because when I'm out here, my whole body is exposed. When I'm in here, only my head's exposed, okay? So I'm going to move through here again, leaning left to go clear in this room. Nothing in here. I'm going to go ahead and crouch down. That was not a good idea. So you'll notice I said that was not a good idea right there, and by that I didn't mean the crouch, I meant this. I'll slow it down for you. As you can see, my crosshair placed perfectly above the terrorist's head, so when I crouch down, my crosshair will be right on top of him. But here comes the mistake. As I crouch down, I decide to lean right, which there really is no reason for. That's a total mistake. This is a perfect example of how important deliberate movement is. Only my keyboard hand made that decision, so my mouse hand wasn't ready to adjust my aim after making that movement. So, in result, I missed my shot. That was not a good idea. But go ahead and crouch down here just to offset myself a little bit. If these were real players, it's probably best to be going against these guys crouched. And I don't know, hopefully that was helpful to you guys just to see how I'm thinking when I'm going into a T-hunt, making really deliberate movements, thinking about every single thing that I do. Now, in a real game, you probably want to throw a few curveballs, right? Because you need to dodge stuff. But this is a really good way to get out of the habit of lean spamming and crouch spamming, because I'm sure we've all been there at one point. I know I myself have, where I'm just smacking every key possible, thinking it's somehow helping my game. It's not. It doesn't, I promise you. And hopefully you can use this to help you out a little bit. And obviously, feel free to repeat that process as much as you need to until you're totally comfortable and not crouch spamming, lean spamming, all of that anymore. Now that I feel like you and I have finally gotten the basics down, it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of this video. Practicing our strafe tracking. Just to remind you, strafe tracking is your ability to remain on target as you move side to side and crouch in order to avoid enemy fire. The way that I'm going to start practicing this is by going into a T-hunt on house and attempting to keep my crosshair on the same spot on this pole as I move around it and crouch. Here's my first attempt at strafe tracking the pole. As you can probably tell from this footage, this is not the level of strafe tracking you would want in a fight against another high-level player. What that means is we've got some work to do. I'm going to go into a T-hunt right now and do that exact same tracking exercise that I just showed you until I feel really comfortable with it. I suggest that you do the same. Track the pole until you feel good about it. Make sure you're throwing crouches in there. Make sure you're strafing around the pole and changing direction frequently. And if you're having trouble, what I recommend you do is really try to change directions or crouch at the same time with your mouse and keyboard or your left stick and right stick. Okay, now this is me after practicing my strafe tracking for 10 minutes. The footage of that is up on screen right now, and obviously it's sped up a little bit. But if there's one thing that I learned during my strafe tracking exercise, is that lean spamming or leaning at all while you're trying to strafe track something is really harmful. You'll notice at the beginning that I threw in a few leans, and I immediately noticed right when I started leaning, I completely lost my place on the pole. So before you try to master the mechanic of strafe tracking, I really recommend that you get down deliberate movement. You need to make sure you're not crouch spamming or lean spamming while you're strafe tracking, because it's really going to throw you off. And just to encourage you a little bit more to practice this yourself at home, I'm going to show you what I looked like before I practiced this exercise for 10 minutes, and then I'll show you the after results. Now, if you have practiced this, hopefully you look a little bit something like this, but if you don't, everyone learns at a different pace. Keep it up, don't give up, you'll get there. And in regards to my footage, that was just 10 minutes of practice. There is some serious noticeable improvement there after just 10 minutes. Now, it's no Shaiiko level strafe tracking, but I think we're getting there. So I'm gonna add on another exercise to really nail in this skill. For this next exercise, I recommend going into a T-hunt and warming up your tracking on the pole, and then going in and practicing your tracking on the enemies. What I'm thinking here is that whenever I see an enemy, I want to strafe around him and track his head as if it were a real fight. Even after I get the kill here, I want to keep practicing my tracking on where the enemy's head last was. Keeping in mind everything we just talked about so far, I'm going to go run this exercise for 10 minutes so I can really nail in those previous skills and develop my strafe tracking. I recommend you do the same. Okay, so this is me post 10 minutes of this new exercise, and I found this one much more helpful than the pole exercise. But I feel like the pole exercise is a necessary build-up step to this one, just so you really get that mechanic down and you really get comfortable with it. But again, the number one thing that I noticed while doing this exercise is how bad I get messed up by leaning. And if you're watching the video right now, you're probably noticing me lean a little bit too much. And I'm realizing that that is something that I'm definitely struggling with. So I'm actually gonna go back and practice deliberate movement a little bit more. All right, so I just went back and practiced my deliberate movement skills a little bit more. Now I feel really good about that. So I'm actually gonna hop back into T-hunts and run some more of the newest strafe tracking exercise so I can see if the deliberate movement has helped me at all. Based on that footage, I think my strafe tracking has improved a lot. You can even see in one of those clips, I was actually able to flick to 3 different targets accurately while strafing, which is kind of impressive to me. On that note, I feel like I've practiced all of the skills that we've learned today enough to go and actually apply them into a ranked game of Rainbow Six Siege. Now, if you're not feeling that way, I recommend you go back and you rewatch this video until you really feel comfortable with every single thing that we've talked about, and then you can go hop into a ranked game or hop into an unranked game if you don't want to put ELO on the line and you still feel like you need a little bit of practice with that. Okay, so we've made it to the 3rd step. Now it's time to play with the mechanics that we've practiced and actually implement them into our gameplay. And I really want to use this ranked gameplay that I'm about to show you to prove to you how frequently the mechanics that we've talked about today actually come into play in everyday Siege. It's something that you see happening all the way from casual to the highest levels of Siege. And I want to take this gameplay to show you how much these skills we've talked about today can help you win more gunfights. So I'm just gonna narrate what I'm doing, what I'm thinking as I play this game, so you guys can kind of get an inside the mind look at how I'm thinking about applying the things that I've practiced today into the actual gameplay, okay? So while we wait right now, I'm gonna go ahead and practice my strafe tracking on this little part of the doorway, just so I can, you know, get warmed up for some of the mechanics that I'm planning on using here. Ooh, okay, so they're shooting out there. They're shooting on the metal thing. And we already have a pick onto somebody peeking Ren. Wow, ranked teams are dumb. It's okay. My biggest concern right now is either somebody running through upper bridge or somebody crosswalking up green stairs. I don't think I'm safe from either, so I'm gonna sit in a corner. Is this guy AFK? What is he doing? Yep. My goal right now is gonna be to hold this. And right now I'm strafing back and forth using my strafe tracking mechanic to hold this angle, so if I see somebody put their head there, I'll be able to shoot it and they won't be able to hit me because I'm moving back and forth. It sounds like it is upper bridge though. I'm gonna go ahead and take another peek. Still no eyes on her. I'm gonna continue strafe track peeking. We see her? We see her on the box. We just saw her head, chat. Got her. Look at that. That was a really good application of our movement skills, guys. So we will see that the attackers are out there. The window will get opened. We'll pre-fire, we'll run away. That sledge is tagged up. we're just gonna run up white and probably sit here for a good 30 seconds, okay? So we tagged up Sledge, which was good. The only thing that we could have done better there was have our crosshair placed a little bit higher, just so we would have taken the headshot and actually confirmed that kill. But Sledge is definitely hurting pretty bad. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy gives us his head per window. So again, I'm using my strafe tracking to maintain a position on the enemy while I'm strafing back and forth, so I'm much harder to hit for them. And let's see if they'll give us the swing here. It doesn't look like they will, so I'm gonna go contest another angle. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot open. Oh, okay, they're gonna run out. Mozzie's dead. Look at that. And although it didn't look like it, strafe tracking actually came into play there. If this guy would have been gun up instead of his cell phone in his hand throwing the nitro, we actually definitely would have lived there because we were strafe tracking, making ourselves much harder to hit. Now, in reception, there's nobody in reception. We do have that vigil roaming up here, which I absolutely hate to see. That's just going to be a really hard clear for us. So I'm actually going to approach this from white stairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rappel up to the roof, open white stairs, go ahead and give myself a drone down. I think Vigil just shot out my drone. So Vigil is running in place. I'm gonna go get my free kill on him, get a good opportunity to practice our strafe tracking. He's alive somehow, literally right as I ran down. I've never been timing so hard in my entire life. All right. I don't know why I went for that kill. That was kind of a monkey play. So we see Ace has control of above. They are gonna try to contest us with some nitros through the floor. We will see Capkin above. He goes into reception. I'm gonna send this here. Will I get Oh, he's in reception desk. Okay, I got him. That was not a strafe track moment. Actually, you know what? It was a strafe track moment. I'll explain after this round. So, guys, the reason why I said that kill on the Capkin was a strafe track moment, if you didn't notice, he actually got a few shots off on me. But I was able to maintain motion while I killed him, so it made him a much harder target. Notice how in that situation, he's sitting completely still, but I don't even see him. But I still win the gunfight because I practice my strafe tracking, and I'm an absolute baller. I hear a guy. Okay. That round worked out for us very well. So at the end here, I'm going to rewatch this. I don't think I actually do. No, I get up here, I strafed, but my tracking was a little bit off. As you can see, right when they swung, I decided to start strafing, so I was harder to hit, and that actually won me that gunfight. Because she was able to get 2 to 3 shots off, and if I wouldn't have been strafing, I would have been a standing still target for her, and I would have gotten smoked. So I'm gonna go ahead and strafe track this doorway until I bring it all the way around. And we just, oh, I thought, yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. I heard her break the door, so I assumed that she had just sent it into fish. I don't know why you would do that in a 2v5. She baited the crap out of me, though. That was good on her part, man. You could see me flick to the door because I thought she had ran in. So if my crosshair placement would have maintained shape there, I probably would have ended up getting the frag onto her. But she baited me really well, played that situation perfectly, and I ended up on the losing end of that gunfight. From watching Athieno's movement guide to analyzing movement at the highest level of pro play, I feel like I really got to understand what movement in R6 is, how it can be improved, and how it can affect my everyday gameplay. I hope you enjoyed going on this journey to improve with me, and I hope that you also feel like you were able to improve today. Make sure that you stay tuned for the next video where I break down crosshair placement in Rainbow Six Siege. But while I'm busy working on that, make sure you follow me over on Twitch and join my Discord server. Both will be linked in the description down below this video. If you have any other questions, the comment section is a great place to ask, or tell me how I can improve my videos in the future. Thanks for watching. Until next time, Gamer out.